Within our souls, we all possess a dream which lay dormant until intrigue strikes its match and sets the torch we carry ablaze, leading us down the path of the unknown towards our dreams. As coaches who are former high-performance athletes, our personal experiences have shown us that a coach, parent, or even a fellow athlete have the potential to either illuminate or extinguish the dreams of young athletes. Nothing is lost from the candle which lights another. We are here to share our stories and our passion to illuminate the champion within, empowering coaches, parents, and athletes to keep the flame of their dreams burning eternally. You are listening to Illuminating Champions with Michal and Ashley Anton. Welcome to another episode of Illuminating Champions. For our first-time listeners, my name is Ashley, and I'm here with my husband, Michal.
Hey, how are you guys?
We also have a very special person in our lives. He is our coach. He is our brand artist, and his name is Mark Patterson. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
So today's episode is entitled Giving 100%, and it's all about giving 100% effort when it comes to sports as an athlete, as a coach, and as a parent, and how vital it is to the athlete to feel that balance between all three sides of that trinity and feel that they have 100% support from their coach and from their parent, and that they have 100% opportunity because both the parent and the coach are equally as enthusiastic for their journey. So Mark is going to help us develop this subject a little bit further. So why don't you get us started off, Mark?
Sure. Well, when you talk about giving 100%, I mean, that's how do you define that for yourself, and how do you explain that to students, young people?
Well, as we always talk about, our students are very, very young. So this is a large concept, but it's really an important one for them to understand. So we talk a lot about making themselves feel like they gave their all, like there was nothing left on the table for them to offer by the time they leave their practice. That it's important to come in and be focused and be ready to learn, be ready to improve at all times. There shouldn't be any time during the practice that they leave room for improvement because they're wasting time by fooling around, or they're distracted, or they're just not paying 100% attention to what they're doing, primarily for their own safety, but then of course for their progress as well. They want to make sure they're really paying attention to every single turn that they take, and that they know that they gave 100% effort of themselves. And like we talked about in the past, this 100% concept for an athlete is also a form of self-respect. So for them to respect themselves and show respect to themselves, they need to give 100% of their heart and 100% of their effort
And
towards
to
what they're
those,
doing.
show respect to those who help them do
Right.
that activity. The parents especially in America. Sports are business, right?
Mm-hmm.
The parents pay for the sport, and the child goes to a sport, and they show respect to their parents for what they are doing for them by giving 100%. Right? It's not just the respect to them. That's how we show. That's what I tell my girls all the time in the gym. I tell them because the kids come over and they're like, or the parents, they're like, oh, she wants to please, right, the child. She's always afraid. She wants to be good. She wants to please. She wants to make the mother proud, the coach proud, And I always explain the girls in the gym. I said, look, if you want to please mommy and daddy and make them proud and happy, it's how you work. You work correct, you work hard, you give it 100%. They're always going to be happy. They already care about you. They already love you because they already spend money for you to do an extra activity that you shouldn't, you don't have to do it. It's not like going to school. You have to go to get your education. Mm-hmm. Sports are an extra activity. Mm-hmm. It's good for you to do it, but you don't have to do it. Then if you do it correctly, give it all and show your parents the respect for the work they put with you. And then for the coaches, it's the same thing. You show your respect towards the coach, not by just coming in the gym and be like, "Thank you, coach. Yes, coach. How are you, coach?" Like it's your work. You can be the most respectful with words, but then when you go to work, you are like ignoring the coach and you turn your back and you don't try. And the coach not gonna look at you like you are respectful. They're gonna look at you like you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's
That's
true.
there.
And like we said all the time, that it's a trinity. So 100% has to come not only from the student, it has to also come from the coach and from the parent. Um, and they have different responsibilities within their roles. So 100% for a parent is, making sure you pay attention to practice times or important information that's coming from the coach, that you need to be aware of in order for your athlete to have their best practice, that you're having your athlete get ready on time, you're getting them to practice
Or to
on
competition.
time or to competition on time. And on time means, of course, a few minutes early, not at the last second walking through the door, that they're prepared, they've eaten well, they have, water with them, their hair is up correctly,
In
they're
gymnastics.
right in gymnastics.
Most of the
They're
sports, if your head is down, it's gonna bother you.
yeah.
Your
So,
peripheral vision is gonna be bothered.
their hygiene is good. You need to help them take care of all that and teach them the responsibility of doing those things until, of course, they're old enough to do them on their own. And picking them up on time, things like that. And then just being there for them, being involved in their sport, making them feel like it's also important to you, letting them know what the expectations that you have are of them when they're in their sport. And then for coaches, like Michal always talks about, the responsibility of coaches, you need to give 100% of yourself to your athlete. Then it doesn't matter how tired you are that day or what kind of day you're having or how frustrated you are in any moment. You need to be as excited as you want your students to be,
Yes.
because they feed off of you, and they feed off of your mood a lot. So you need to make sure that your demeanor is happy, your approach is excited and enthusiastic to teach them. And for them to get better, you have to make them feel like it's important to you that they get better because you care about them. And then, of course, educating yourself on your profession and enhancing your knowledge of what you're teaching and how you're instructing it. Those are all ways you can give 100% of
You
yourself.
see, the coach is, in the end of the day, the coach
Bears.
bears the biggest responsibility, you know, because you the one with the knowledge. Like the parent brings the child to you because you the professional. Then, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, it's your responsibility to help the parent understand what the child needs in order for the child to be successful in that field. And it's also your responsibility to teach the child how to get to a successful point, right?
Well,
And
that's really
the
interesting. You talked about in other episodes that what you're doing is really building a culture, and the parents don't quite understand that. The students certainly don't because they're too young. So the coaches have a responsibility of defining and building that culture. And they
Mm-hmm.
really need to lead it by giving their 100% and then helping the others to understand how they can give their 100%.
yes,
Very interesting.
but especially like as a coach, like you're not gonna have the easiest athletes to work with. Understand? Do you think like Simone Biles was an easy athlete for her coach, first coach, the one that created her, right? No. For sure that if you go sit down with that lady and ask her how many times she wants to walk out the gym during practice, maybe it was many, many times, but she didn't. She didn't give up. She stayed with Simone. She tried to help Simone. She coached Simone. Then Simone becomes Simone Biles. It's the same with Nastya Lukin. You think her father like look at Nastya every day and he was happy and he was like, oh, she's going to be Olympic champion. No, maybe it was like months where he was doubting the fact that she can become an Olympic champion, but he didn't give up on that. He maybe didn't show it her at all. You know, he tried to work with it. He tried to find a fix, right?
Solution.
A solution to whatever problem she was bringing to the table, right? The same thing for Ali Reisman. The same thing for every single champion that you have. And even other sports, like we talk in the past all the time, I bring Michael Phelps because he's the most awarded Olympic athlete, right? And the whole history of Olympics. Do you think Michael Phelps was like every day going to the pool? He was always the most pleasant kid to work with? No, for sure. If you ask his coaches, the coaches had moments where they was like, "Oh my God, like it's turning me crazy," but they didn't show it. They didn't give up on him. They tried to adjust whatever problem he had. You know. Then even with the parents can put you in the same situation, no, by not knowing sometimes, right? You know,
Right.
they have a behavior that um, contradict with what they need to do for the child in order for the child to be successful. Like as a coach, you have to work with that. You cannot just like, well, whatever, they don't care. I'm not going to coach this kid, and
Mm.
you know, because that's the excuse of the coaches. Every time you hear a coach that didn't have a champion, especially gymnastics, let's talk just gymnastics. That's what they're going to tell you. I was not lucky. I didn't have a Simone Biles walk into my gym, nor Simone Biles coach. She made her. Understand? Simone Biles became Simone Biles because the coach coached her. Understand?
Right.
Because if the coach didn't coach her, she will not be Simone Biles. If she had a coach that give up on her, she'll never show her value, you know. And that's
Sure.
with everybody. Like everybody who's successful behind them was a person that took them through very hard times, very hard moments, that didn't give up on them where they was giving up on themselves, or you know, they was having a behavior that was hurting themselves. That person behind them, the coach, was the one that pulled them out of that situation by not giving up on them, by pushing himself as a coach to find a resolution to that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not always the same. It's not a recipe that's, you know, you want to make a chicken soup and you have the recipe and you put the ingredients and it's a chicken soup and
Yeah.
tastes the same all the time.
Well,
I
humans are very complex animals. We don't,
yes,
but
you
we
never can have like, that's why I tell people all the time, like they ask me like, give me an advice. I don't want to give you like 100% advice. I can tell you this. You take it and you use it in your situation based on how your situation is, because every athlete is going to give you a different challenge, right? You're going to have to put different ingredients to make that soup. It's not going to be the same, you know.
Yeah. And that's part of giving 100% as the coach, is realizing that it's not a cookie cutter approach, and what stimulates one athlete is not going to stimulate the one standing next to them. And that's why coaching is so difficult, um, if you want to do it well, because you have to take time to figure out what stimulates each of them and really get to know each of them on a deeper level and want to reach them. You know, you can't just be superficial with them, like we talked about in the past, and look at one athlete who maybe they struggle to pay attention and just be like, oh, well, she's not focused, I'm just going to work with this one.
Yeah,
And
but you
that's
see, one
normally
second.
what happens.
Now is the other side of the coin here. Most of the coaches are like, oh, I'm not going to work with this child, right? Girl, we coach girls gymnastics, or boys, right? Let's say boy or girl. I'm not going to work with them because they don't pay attention. They don't listen, right? They don't take corrections. And they just going to let them go like that. And they know that that child is not going to succeed. You understand? Then a coach that's going to give 100% is going to expose himself or herself, because they're going to go there, they're going to try to deal with that situation. That child is going to get frustrated, is going to go home frustrated because the coach told them they don't listen and they have to do this and they have to do that. Then the parents going to get frustrated, and the coach has to have a conversation with the parents. And it's a little bit risky, right, to give 100%. But if you are a real coach and you really care about the athlete, you take the risk how the athlete take the risk. You know, when the athlete does that run, that handspring triple flip, they take a risk. It's a big risk. And it's a physical risk too, right? They can land on their head, break their neck, and they're going to be paralyzed for life or dead. And then as a coach, you have to take that risk too. You expose yourself, obviously. When you give 100%, you're going to expose yourself. Like the athletes expose themselves to injuries. That's the part of the injury that the coach is going to get. You're not going to fall off the beam and broke your ankle as a coach, but you're going to have this situation where you have to explain a parent, or you have to re-explain the athlete, why did you tell them what you tell them, why did you ask them to do what you asked them to do. You know, sometimes the athlete gets frustrated, the parents get frustrated, and you have to deal with that professionally. You know, you can't take it personal. You know, like I tell my athletes all the time, don't take my correction personal. I cannot take their reaction personal either, because sometimes they don't know, they don't understand. I take it personal just if you come and swear at me. But other than this, like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to try to help you and guide you and explain you why do I ask you to do what I'm asking you to do,
Right.
and the way I'm asking you to do.
It would
Right.
be so much easier if every person had a little dial on their forehead and you could see if they're 30%, 40%, 80%, 100%. But
That
we
would be
don't have
easy.
the dials. So somehow you as a
Who
coach has to
knows?
magically see and sense and help them turn that dial up from inside.
10
So,
years, 20 years from now, maybe they're going to
We
put that.
might
Like,
have one. No, but a lot of times for kids, like they don't realize that they're not giving 100% of themselves. They have kind of a false impression of what 100% is because they're in the gym and they want to have fun. And sometimes they don't realize that by focusing mostly on just having fun or being distracted or thinking like 12 steps ahead of what's coming later in practice is actually making them give maybe 80% of themselves in that moment instead of 100%. So the 100% has to come in the moment in order to really capitalize on it.
yeah,
And
but
that
again,
goes
sorry to
back
interrupt
to
you. You see, again, it's the coach that has to teach
what I
the
was going to
athlete.
say.
I understand what means to have fun being in a competitive environment, even in school, right?
sure.
Having fun as a competitor is doing good enough for you to be able to compete at the highest level with the best of the best. Understand? That's how when I did gymnastics, for me, it was fun to be the best. It was fun. Like if my coach told me to do, and I will do, on pommel horse 1,000 circles a practice after I did pommel horse for 2 hours. You know, I make sure that each circle out of those 1,000 was close to perfection because I want to be the best. I want to get the perfect 10. I want to be the next big thing in my country. Understand? And that for me was fun. Was hard? Of course, it was hard. My hand will rip like here. I'll have like big holes like this in my hand from
The
like
palm.
pushing the leather on it. You know, more than I will get ripped on the high bar. You know, but I find to have fun by being good, by working hard to be good and working correct. You know, but my coach teach me that, like give me that education. You know,
Right.
and that's why it's important to educate, especially in sports that start very young, like gymnastics. It's very important for the coach from the beginning to educate the athletes, to the child, to understand the difference between the social fun and the professional fun. Understand?
That's a
Because
really interesting point because little kids, 4, 5, 6 years old, they like to play. They like to have fun.
yes,
If you can
which
communicate,
is normal.
fun is
Listen,
Yeah.
it's
important.
normal. It's natural. They are kids.
Sure.
It's natural. But you, as a coach, it's your job to guide that fun they want to have towards that professional fun. Understand correctly,
Right.
right? And help them understand, like, okay, I want to have fun being the best. You know, because sports like gymnastics is not a social environment. It's not for you to come in the gym and you are like on Instagram, right? It's not a social place like that, really.
Right.
Because also you can get injured very fast.
Yeah.
Like fooling around and not paying attention. You don't have to do a big trick on the beam to fall and break your leg or your arm. You just have to fall. You on the beam and then fall down, you know, and that's it. It's done. Like you broke your ankle or you broke your arm. In gymnastics, you don't need to do big. And most of the injury in gymnastics doesn't happen for big falls. Like when you watch those big fails on YouTube in gymnastics, those guys most of the time don't get injured.
They're normally fine.
Because when they do that big trick, they are focused. Understand? The trick comes out wrong, but their mind is focused on the execution of what can happen. They are ready for the impact. Understand?
Right.
The fail doesn't really surprise their body and their brain too much to react. You know, when your brain is not there and your mind is not there and you fall, your body is not ready for the impact. You know,
Right.
because our muscle system, right? If I squeeze my muscle, what happened? You can't hit, right? It's like an armor. Understand? Our muscle system is beside the mechanical part is to protect the body in impacts. Like if someone hits your muscle, squeeze. Understand? Now, if you focus when you are concentrate on a trick while you execute it, if you fail, your brain gives that reaction, the self-protection reaction to the muscles to react fast at the impact. Then when you impact the mat, your muscles squeeze good enough, you protect your body. But if your brain is not there and you fell on the mat and you're just like a spaghetti, like, you know what I mean? You're going to break into pieces.
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to have time for reaction, because that reaction happened in a split of a second.
Right.
And that's why it's important to teach them how to concentrate, how to pay attention to themselves, and how to be
And
focused on
I'm
their work.
continuously impressed by the way you talk about, because I've only had bad coaches, sadly, in my what kind of sports I had until I got into martial arts and had these ninth degree guys who were awesome. But uh, you don't understand the depth of what a real coach is doing. And you don't understand that a sport is more than the physical. In fact, you've taught me that the mental is as much, if not more. Uh, and so you teach the body and the mind and the spirit of people to become champions. That's an amazing lesson that I want to make sure that all the listeners understand. It's everybody has a role in building that mindset.
You know how important the mind is in sports? I'm going to give you an example. Watch Olympic Games. Every individual sport in Olympic Games has in the final, right, 8 athletes, right? Track, gymnastics. If you go on the events in gymnastics, is 8 athletes compete against each other. If you look at those athletes in the final, when they get to that 8 in the world, the best 8 in the world, right? They are almost athletically 100% the same athlete, the same athletic level, the same natural talent. The one that wins is the one with a stronger mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one that in that moment of stress and adrenaline is the one that can perform his activity the best, whatever that activity is: run, swim, gymnastics, flipping. And the mind is the one that makes the difference, not really the body. It's very rare when at that level you get a guy that's like, how to say, like you can see the physical difference. You have in gymnastics Simone that, but even for Simone,
They're starting to catch up.
they are catching up with her. Why? Because you have this new generation of athletes that have a strong mind. They have enough athletic skills. They have enough strength to out execute her, outclass her in execution. And because they don't get stressed, she gets more stress. Or like now, you can see in other sports the same thing. You see a guy that's very good in practice, and when they go in competition, they can't perform. He's losing to someone who is like less athletic than him naturally, but perform well under stress. That comes all of mind strength,
Mental strength.
mental strength. Understand? Mental strength is important. The stronger, actually, like I tell the girls all the time, the stronger muscle in the body, I always tell them, it's your brain.
Mm.
That's where everything goes. Understand? Everything starts in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Your heart and your brain has to be connected, but the brain is the one that,
it's instructing your
it's
body.
distracting, yes. And it's also correcting your emotion, because your heart is full of emotions. The brain sometimes has to choke them out a little bit. Like
Bring in the logic.
Yes.
So be very specific. I mean, how as a coach do you walk in there and do the mental exercises you had? How do you walk in and give 100% every day? What are the specific things you tell yourself or do by habit now, so that the students can see that and experience it? Your 100%.
Well, first off, you really have to be in love with what you're doing. That's like the first step, and that's not something that can really be taught too much as a coach. You need to feel it, like we talked about in the past. So, loving what you're doing makes a huge difference. But realizing that you're walking into the gym and all of those children in there are reliant upon you to teach them. They're waiting on you to show them how to get better, and their results depend 100%
But once again, that's
on
what you have to
you.
understand. Like as a coach, when you walk into a gym or a sport arena, whatever the sport it is that you coach, the success of these athletes rely
Realize, yeah,
on your um,
approach to them.
approach to them. Yes, understand? Then you have to know also yourself and understand like how much better you can be, or how good you are and how good you're not coaching in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because for example, if I go to coach, I know my level of coaching. I know how high of a level I can coach or how low of a level I can coach. And every time I finish a practice, I always ask her, how did I do today? The first thing we get in the car after I finish the nighttime, I'm like, okay, I did you think I did enough with that girl or that girl? You see her, she struggled over there. I
So
told
she
her
holds
this.
up a card like 8 points, 9 points.
No, she
I should
corrects
get
me.
one.
She corrects me. She corrects me. Like I told you, like we talked in the past, I think in one of the episodes,
Right.
and I said that I own her part of how I am and who I am today a lot because she did help me. Beside the language, she helped me with English. She helped me understand the American culture in society, not just in sport. Then the American culture in sport, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like she also helps me autocorrect myself with things, you know.
Mhm.
Or like if I didn't give 100% in that practice, she tells me, you know. She comes to me and she's like, you know, today like you drink too much coffee.
No, but it's the same for me. I mean, we said this in the past. You need to self reflect on
Yes.
every single practice as a coach and as an athlete. You know, you're teaching your athlete to do that. You need to do it as a coach. You need to go back and look at what you did well that day, and you need to look at what you need to improve upon, and you need to look at every single child and how they can improve. I mean, you should never be getting bored as a coach
No.
because, and some coaches let themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, because it doesn't matter what athletic capacity the child has. You cannot be like, oh, these children are not, you know, very athletically inclined. It's boring. Well, no, it's not, because actually that's giving you one of the largest challenges. And that should be very
The
exciting
opportunities to
because
learn
it's the
actually.
opportunity to learn how to reach someone that's more challenging to reach. And it's also very fulfilling and joyful to watch them overcome what they struggle with. So you need to have a plan for each student. You need to look at them and see how you can make them better, what needs to be done, how can you make them understand better what it is they need to do in every single aspect, and break it down. Sometimes it's, you know, skill building. Sometimes it's they need to get over a fear, or they need to get stronger in a specific
Or
area
change
to
your
help their skill.
behavioral.
Right. They need to change their behavioral patterns. So there's a lot that you need to do, and then you need to have a plan of how you're going to make them grasp all of these life lessons that we always talk about, because that's what's going to make them thrive within their sport. So you need to do extra things with them to promote good listening. You need to create challenges for them to teach them how to compete and have good sportsmanship, and it needs to become like a game, like a challenge for each of them, each practice, in order for them to stay really stimulated and to learn to find that motivation within themselves.
You see, when I
That
have an athlete that struggle, let's say she cannot get a skill like giants on bars, and I look at her and she struggled. The first thing I start with judging in her training, it's me.
mm-hmm.
Understand? I start with myself. Did I do enough? I did this, I did this, I did this. Understand? And
Mm-hmm.
then I look at her and I'm like, okay, she should do more of this and she should do more of this and she should think this way. But every time I look at an athlete struggling, the first person that I start with correcting is me.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Even in my approach to, like, I have now in the gym, I have two little girls that I'm trying to get them from like very basic level to maybe one day elite level pretty soon. And they are young, they are 9 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
The two of them. And the same thing, like they struggle. They're not yet there. They don't, like, if you come in the gym and look at them, someone with not a good eye and a good passion is going to be like, oh, they're not going to do it. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like, I can see the value over there. And then every day I coach them, everything they struggle, everything they bring to the table as a struggle, I look at myself first. Did I approach it correct?
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Did I give her the right correction? Did I give her the right exercise or the right drill for that mistake? Understand? Or did I give her the right explanation for whatever mental block she had? And I always try to make myself be the best
Mm-hmm.
for helping her to become the best. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you need to be knowledgeable of the rules, which in gymnastics, there's hundreds of them. So that's part of giving 100% of yourself. You can't be, I remember competing gymnastics, and I had a coach that they'd be asking me what the rules are in, your skills counting or
Why
attaining
second?
bonus.
Now the same that now the same
And I'm
coach,
like,
now the
It
same
wasn't
coach.
100%.
1 second to see
no,
like how life is. The same coach college today.
right.
Then think about it. Like those girls in college, did that coach? Did she change a lot?
Hopefully, because
Hopefully yes, but if not, those college girls
Well,
don't get the real coaches. Understand?
well,
Because that
sadly,
coach is gonna have the same mentality.
in every endeavor, you've got people that graduate at the top of their class and graduate at the bottom of their class and put forth 100% or just enough to get by.
yeah,
So I guess coaching is like anything else, and it's
yeah,
sad to think there are probably doctors the same way. But I appreciate that you're teaching this to all of your students. So as you said before, so every student that graduates from your place is or that goes through your coaching program becomes a better person just
Look,
doing the experience.
coaches like athletes, like students, like if you don't do your job correctly, at one point is catching up with you. Like a young person that goes to a medical school and finish with the lower grades because they didn't give it 100%,
Mhm.
they're gonna get a job as a doctor. I don't know, like where, like a small clinic, and at one point they're gonna make a mistake, or people are gonna pick up on the fact that they don't know, and they don't know, not gonna go back to them. They're gonna have no customers, right?
Sure.
It's the same thing with an athlete. You can be talented, but if you don't work, someone is going to outclass you, and they're going to be the Olympic champion. You're going to sit home on the couch with the popcorn soda and watch the Olympics on TV, and clap for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with coaches. At one point, if you don't do your job, it's catching up with you, because someone else is going to be the person that goes to the Olympics. Someone else is going to be the person that's going to have an elite athlete that's going to be on TV, and people are going to recognize them walking into an arena. You know, it's the same thing in everything in life.
Right. So if you were
Absolute
talking,
everything. If you don't do your job correctly, at one point it's catching up with you.
absolutely. So if you were talking to a room full of coaches, if this was, illuminating champions for coaching, for coaches, what one or two things would you tell them they have to start doing right now?
can I start?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm a gentleman.
Being aware of the impact that they're going to make, because there's going to be one, whether they're trying to make one or they're not trying to make one.
It can be positive or negative.
Yes.
That's
So it's going to be a positive impact or a negative impact. And that has to be the first thing in their mind all of the time. And they need to put themselves in the shoes of the athlete at all times and think about how they would want to be approached in all of those challenging moments that the athlete is facing. And I think going back to what Michal was just saying, things catch up to you in life when you don't give 100%. I think the most delicate thing there is in life is like that impact that you're making on someone else's life, particularly when it's a child. And coaches have to realize how fragile they are, and that they remember their encounter with you for the remainder of their life, particularly when they're competing a sport and they're doing it for a couple of years. So even if you're not the most skilled coach for teaching skills, the athlete can feel your approach to them and your love for them, and that you really, really tried to give your all to them, and that you've spent time teaching them other lessons that they can carry in life, and they will appreciate that. So, coaches that are newer coaches, don't ever have to feel bad about their level of skill teaching, because that can always be improved upon. Just like we tell our athletes, you're there to learn. You don't need to feel bad about yourself because you don't have the most skills in the world yet. You can attain them, but they need to take pride in that impact that they can make upon a child. And we've said this before in the past, you're not working with a product, you're working with someone's dreams. And that's something that's intangible, but something you have to be very aware of, because if you don't give 100% to that child's dream, that's one of the most awful things that you can do, and one of the most disrespectful things, and in my opinion, one of the most abusive things that you can do, because you're totally just not caring about someone's feelings and their aspirations, and you are setting them up for failure by not giving 100% of yourself, because as the coach, you're in charge. You are the conductor, as Mihal likes to say, and
Yes.
you're orchestrating the success of your athlete. So if you're not going to give 100% of yourself, your athlete cannot have any chance at having 100% success for themselves. Go ahead.
No, that's right. You said everything correct.
Okay, it's same room. The coaches have gone out, and the parents come in the other door. A whole 500 parents there. What do you tell them that what one or two things can you tell them to be 100% of a gymnastics student parent?
I'm gonna let her speak about that one too.
Just a specific tip, because
She's
you may
more
Okay.
no. I'm gonna let her because like you have to understand like I'm more of a direct person and I have a short vocabulary. Then I don't want to come out very harsh or very direct, and I let her
100% is
I'll
out.
start
saying
it. You could add
yes
to it.
because she's more gentle with her words.
Okay.
As a gymnastics parent, you need to be ready to be all, I mean, in any sport, but particularly gymnastics, because it requires so many hours of commitment at any competitive level. Um, and like we said before, the child is going to face adult sized emotions as a young child. You need to really be all in 100% in tune with your athlete and with their coach. You need to pay attention to what the coach is telling you about your athlete, about their practice, about the competitions. You need to stay on top of things and be organized, because information comes at you in bulk a lot of times, and it comes at you fast. And if you don't pay attention, your child can, of course, miss out on opportunities or show up late for a competition, which is not going to be good. But going back to how you approach the athlete, be 100% of their support system. That is the largest role that you can play. And that doesn't mean, berating your child because their teammate performed better than them. That means be there to cheer them on, let them know you're proud of their efforts all the time, but also gently let them know that they have more in them that they're capable of, and that you want to see them reaching their peak, and set them up at home to do that. Make sure they're getting adequate rest, make sure they're eating well, make sure they're going to bed at a time where they can get enough sleep to perform well. Make sure you're staying on top of them with their academics as well, and teaching them time management. Make sure that they're prepared for practice. You set the tone of how they walk into the gym. So we always, he always was shocked coming here that kids come into the gym in their pajamas because this does not happen in Romania. You don't leave your house in pajamas, and this is a negative American trait. So he's like, how are they coming to the gym in your pajamas? Like, you're ready for bed. And people here are like, oh, whatever. But it's
You
true,
have
because
students that show up in pajamas.
we don't have that many, to be honest with you.
My girls don't.
Because,
They are very well
They do it
educated.
yeah,
one time in your gym, right?
yeah. But, it does happen. And it's true, that whole look good, feel good aspect. If you're making it a point to come in well groomed, like your hair is neat, your nails are clipped, you've brushed your teeth, you have good hygiene, your clothes match, you're in an athletic type of outfit or whatever, you're coming from school, but you're not in pajamas where you're ready, your mind is set on being cozy and going to sleep. You can't have that mindset walking into the gym, because you're about to take on one of the most challenging endeavors of your entire life, and something that also has a catastrophic risk to
You
it.
see, I always tell my girls in the gym that it's very important to care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Because the way you care about you transfer in everything else in your life. Understand? Like if you care, I tell them, if you care to, for example, clean your room and have your room clean, right? And in order, if you care to do your homework, if you care to get good grades in school, then that's going to transfer in your sport. Because when you do a sport, you're going to want to be successful. You're going to want to do things correct. Then you're going to become a person that wants to be good, wants to do things correct. And by the time you get older and older and older, you're going to be very successful in life because you have that trait,
Yeah.
yes, of wanting to do things the best way. You know, when you just like, can I use the word sloppy?
Sloppy, yeah.
Yeah, like a sloppy person, right? Your room is messy, you are messy as a person, you don't care about your grades and doing your homework. You get that personality that's going to grow with you. And then you're going to become an adult that's not going to have very
You become
strong,
mentally sloppy.
yes,
Yeah.
you're not going to have strong will in life. You're not going to have strong attitude to do things correct. Then your life is going to struggle. And it's very important at a young age for kids to learn to want to have things done correctly, to care about their appearance. You know, like it's one thing to be comfortable, you know, but it's another thing to not care about yourself at all. You know, like I grew up, like I said it before, I grew up in a socialist communist country. I grew up with a dictator. And then I have one pair of shoes, one pair of socks, one underwear, one short, and I never go to the gym with dirty socks. I came home from practice at 10 o'clock at night and I got home at the candlelight with barely cold water going through the faucet. I washed my socks and my underwear by hand and I put them to dry by the stove because we have propane. I opened the door at the stove and I put the things, I hang them to dry for the morning, you know, because I want to be clean. I have to say, like, I was proud of me being clean, looking good in my head at the time. Like I was looking good,
Now,
although
were you driven by yourself, or did you have to? Did the coaches demand and inspire you to be that, or was
they
that
demand, the coaches demand. They demand because you couldn't, like, you had to go to the gym with white socks and white underwear anyways, and then they will make fun of you very badly if that underwear had a spot of something on it or your socks was not clean, you know. But also at home, my parents were like that. Like they teach me to be like that. You know, my father always told me, and I said in past episodes, my father has 8 grades. That man grew up after the World War II during the Russian invasion. You know, like he didn't have a chance in life like I have today a little bit coming to America, you know. And he still educate me correct. He always told me, like, son, it's very important how you behave in society, and it's very important how you dress yourself. He always told me, like, people gonna judge you first time for your appearance. When you walk into a room of people, doesn't matter how rich they are, doesn't matter how elite they are in society, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna judge you by your appearance. If you dress nice, if you talk correctly, if you have good manners, they're gonna respect you. Doesn't matter how poor you are, they're not gonna know that, you know. And I always had that in the back of my head because, like, as a child, like, I compete. I told you I was in a military club. I used to be exposed to events where I go and it will be like generals and people from the government, and I always look at them with like, wow, I want one day to be part of that, right? To live a life like that. And then, like, I learned to behave correctly, to, like, when you walk in a room, to know how to speak, to have a presence, right? To care about how I look, and not because, how to say it correct, because today you see you have this thing in society where it's like everybody is like, oh, just be yourself, right? It's fine, just be yourself, but at the end of the day, people have to understand that the society judge you based on your,
you ought to be trying to be your best self.
yes, based on your appearance, based on your success. That's how society is. You know, it's just how it is. And then you teach someone to not pay attention to themselves, and then they want to get a job in, I don't know, like some big corporation, and they don't get hired because guess what? The girl that actually look like a model and has the brain of Einstein is going to get a job.
Right.
Understand? Because the girl that doesn't look like a model and doesn't present herself correctly is not going to. The girl that's better looking, the way she dresses and the way she speaks and the way she walks, is the one that gets the job. It's the same thing with men.
You
They,
mentioned the military a second ago. I have a grandson. He was just like everybody's grandson. He was a teenager, longish hair, walked with a slouch, the same wrinkled T-shirt, and then one day he decided to after he got out of school, join the Air Force. He goes to basic training. He comes back a different person. He's
yeah,
standing
military
straight
changes.
up. He's
Yes.
got a clean haircut. He's got a uniform, and he literally walks taller and feels prouder about himself.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
he loves the transition. And it's an astounding thing because military understands where people are and where they need to be. Yeah,
Yes.
could you imagine? I talked about this. Can you imagine if they go to the military? They say, "I don't want to make my bunk. You know, I
Yeah.
don't like that uniform.
Yeah, but you see
I
why
want to
they
wear
made
this
the bunk
T-shirt."
bed.
It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
When you make your bunk bed, the bed, right, in the morning correctly, your attitude is so ready to perform any other task correctly. That's why in the military they start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't remember if I said in the past episode, but I do believe, like, for example, military in my country was like you got draft at the
It's
time,
mandatory.
mandatory, you know. And I do believe that still today should be a mandatory military service for boys at 18 years old. I still believe it. Not a combat, but a 6 months where the boy finish high school
Yeah.
and gets drafted into the military for 6 months, where they do a military service and then come back in society.
Right.
Because military makes men, understand?
Right.
Military makes very strong men with good character.
Right.
Like they take little boys and turn them into a real man
Sure.
with everything. Because like people think that the real man is the guy with big muscles, harsh voice, like tough, walk around like, yo man, I'm gonna beat you up. No, that's not a tough man. That's not a strong man. Understand?
Right.
A strong man is the one that can protect his family when it's necessary. But other than this, you don't have to walk around and tell people I'm a strong man.
So
Like
that's that. That's the Illuminating Champions transformation.
yeah,
Little
Mm-hmm.
kids come in who want to play,
yes,
and they become mentally, physically, and professionally, you know, a champion in short order.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to offer people.
yes,
Yeah, they come in the gym for gymnastics. They learn gymnastics, but they leave ready to take on the rest of the world because of the attributes that they learn, and things that they place importance upon, which is their
Right.
character, their work ethic, their pride within themselves, holding themselves to a high standard of being ready for what they're taking on, from their appearance to the way that they're going to perform it. That's the message that
but
we're
you see,
trying to
here
teach.
is actually the connection that you talk about. You bring the subject of military. It is a connection between that 6 months I told you, like they should have military training for 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
you know because why? Not because of the skill that you get as a soldier, like you know how to shoot guns and all that part. Is the behavior that change in
Right.
that 6 months, understand?
Your
Right.
mentality.
The mentality change. You become more responsible. You become more how to say, like, to execute tasks
Mm-hmm.
with a good outcome. Like you try to do things to be good, because in the military you cannot do a task halfway. You have to do it 150%. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm. You're not
if
Right.
you
going to
are in a
survive.
combat situation, you're not going to come back home. That's it.
Right.
The same thing with the sports. Sports are like, yeah, you go to the Olympics, you go to the World Championships, you become a professional athlete, and you make millions of dollars if you become that. But for the biggest mass that does the sport, is the behavior that they have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Because yeah, not everybody's gonna go to the Olympics, which is fine, and it's okay. I think people should stop being embarrassed to say it, or to admit it. Like, yeah, my child is not gonna go to the Olympics. She doesn't have that athletic skill at that level to go to the Olympics. But guess what? She's gonna have an Olympic champion mindset. And she's gonna finish gymnastics at, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. She's gonna go to a college, and she's going to become the best doctor in the world. Because of what? Because of her mentality from the sport.
Mm-hmm.
She
Right.
knows how to work hard. She knows how to want to be the best. She knows how to perform under stress. Then when she has a test, she's going to pass it. She's going to know how to study for that hard test and not give up, and not think like, oh my God, this is so impossible. I cannot. I have 3 tests in 1 week. My mind is exploding. No, a girl that did gymnastics is going to do 7 tests in 1 week
And be fine.
and
Yeah.
be fine. And she's going to be like, that was okay.
Right.
because she has the mindset from the sport that makes her mentally tough, not just physically tough. And it's the same thing with military. Those guys that come out of military, their mindset is changed.
That's
That's
why
what makes
when
them
they,
so special.
if you put that on your resume, uh, you are looked on as instantly someone who understands things at a higher level. And if you've been an officer, that you are instantly judged as a leader. So I see it every day in business. I worked with one company. The guy was special operations for the military, and he had tremendous responsibilities. He got hired in a nanosecond by a big company.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to give you an example. When I come to America, I want to join the Marines. True story. She drove me to the Marine drafting, and I barely speak English. I passed the test, and I want to go to the SEAL team, but I was too old. And the guy that was doing the drafting, he talked to me, and he told me to go to the Rangers, and from the Rangers after 1 year to try to transfer to SEAL team. And I barely speak English, right? And we get to the end almost, and he asked me about my papers here, and I had just a working visa. I didn't have a green card, and obviously I couldn't get hired. And he told me, it's like, look, we want people like you. Like, we need people like you with your mentality. The point is this: where that mentality came from. I barely speak the language. I passed the test, and the guy that was doing the drafting was impressed by my mentality. Just in that, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour that he spent with me in that office talking and take me through the test. From what? From sport. My mentality came from gymnastics. Okay, I did military service back home, but my whole mentality was built in sport. Then you see, like, even for the military, like, they pick up on that mentality that I have. They pick up on the fact that I could be a leader, because that's what he told me. We need people like you, because you can have a career in the military. You can become an officer. You can, But I never, after I got the green card, I never go back to that. But the point is that if you have a strong mentality, you can get anything in life.
Right.
So the idea of giving 100% is not just a statement that's made about pushing your body, doing more push-ups. It's total, isn't it? It's defining yourself and pushing yourself to be the best you can be.
But that's what impressed that guy when I go to that test for the Marine. The fact that I didn't speak English, I didn't know how to read and write, but I pushed myself through the test, and I answered, like, obviously, like, I was smart enough to figure it out and answer correctly. But the fact that I was there sitting with someone that speak a language that I didn't speak, and I tried to figure it out, and I was not scared of it, impressed them. Understand?
Sure.
Where someone else that didn't have my mental skill will break down, right? Will be like, oh, I don't speak the language, I can't do it, and don't even try it. But because I sit there on that chair and I go through that writing test, without speaking the language, and they didn't have someone to speak my language.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The guy got impressed, and they was like, okay, we will want someone like you, because obviously someone like me can learn the language and then can become
because
a leader.
We can teach you the language.
Yes.
We can't teach everyone to be that kind of a strong leader.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Goes back to being coachable, like we
Coachable,
had
yeah.
a couple episodes ago. But I want to bring this back to coaching and setting the example as a coach, and just making sure that when you walk in the gym, you realize you are the prime example for all of your students. Then no matter how hard it is to grasp each of them, you have to work hard. And they know when you're working hard and when you're not working hard.
Yes.
They do. They're very in tune with that. So you need to go in, you need to work hard. I don't think that there's any such thing as extra effort or going above and beyond as a coach, because if you want to be a good coach, it's always above and beyond just the skill teaching. And that should be your expectation. There is no beyond. You just give it all the time.
Because look, is disrespect, I'm going to put it this way, it's disrespectful for a coach to expect just from the athlete or from the athlete parents to give it all. Understand?
Right.
You have to give it all. You have to show the parent that, look at me, I'm here, I'm giving it 400%. You want to call me at 11 o'clock at night and talk about your daughter or your son problems and whatever bothers them, I'm going to answer you. You know, ask Ashley every time, like, if I get this message on we have a cell phone also for the gym, it's 11 o'clock, I ask her, who is it? What they said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't matter. Even if I'm sleeping, I'm waking up, I'm like, okay, can you check the message? You know, because I want to know. You know, I want to answer my customer. I want to answer my athlete. Like, if my athlete has a problem in the middle of the night because she can't sleep, because she's afraid of a layout step out on the beam, I'm going to talk to her at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't care.
That's great.
Understand? And then the parents gonna feel that, and the athlete's gonna feel that. They're gonna be comfortable around you. They're gonna wanna give it 100%. That starts with the coach. The coach is the one that starts he's the conductor, right? I always say that. You know, you give the tempo, the rhythm of the music, right? Then if you give it 100%, then at one point, like, yeah, maybe your athlete doesn't give 100% today. Maybe they don't understand what giving 100% is, because they are very young. But if you spend time with them, if you explain them, if you guide them, at one point they're going to understand, and they are going to be very successful. Maybe not going to the Olympics, but for them, maybe that state championships is going to be the Olympic Games. But their mentality is going to be the mentality of a real Olympic champion, and they're going to carry that in life. And that's what I'm trying to explain the coaches, the reason that they have to give 100%. It's not just for the gold medal.
No.
Right.
The gold medal, yes, it's nice when you have it around your neck. It's like the cherry on the top of the cake, right? But the behavior that you build with that athlete is what is important, because that athlete one day is going to be you. And they're going to have the position to teach someone else. Then how they going to teach? You see, I talk about my first coach in gymnastics, with good and bad. That man teach me character, right? A good character. He teach me to work hard. He teach me to not give up. He teach me that I can be stronger than everybody believe I could be, right? Because I was a sick kid. I was a skinny kid. I came out of a toxic shock with septics, right?
With sepsis.
Sepsis, yes. Very, very sick kid. And I became a national champion in a country that almost invent gymnastics. You know, where the kids got drafted to do sports, not like me. Like, I got lucky that the coach look at me and feel bad for me, you know. But that man, like, with good and bad, he taught me everything. The character that I have today is from him. He teach me how to be successful. He teach me how to want to succeed, how to work hard and correct, you know. And those, like, if my coach didn't do that to me today, you think I will sit here in front of the camera talking to you about those things? No, because I will not have it. Because you can see, like, I don't speak out of I don't have a paper in front of me.
It's not scripted.
It's not scripted. I sit down here and I think, and I have to think in my language, translate the things in English in my head, and then start speaking. Then it's real. It's what I feel. Where that come from my coach.
Comes from your heart, yeah.
Yes, but why? Because my coach taught that to me. Understand? And not just my coach, my father taught me that, but the society in my country at the time, like, they push us towards hard work ethic.
So coaches need to become role models.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and realize that they're molding great people, not just great athletes. That's a very, very.
Yes.
You mold the future.
I
Teacher in school, the same thing. When you are a teacher in school, you mold the
parents.
future.
And as we completed that triangle, a parent needs, they don't consciously think about every day when they wake up, but they need to realize they are the role model. They are critical coaches of life for their kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, the parent, I'm going to be honest. I hope parents not going to get too mad at me now, but I have to be honest. A parent with a good behavior can make a child with a mediocre talent become an Olympic champion. And the parent with the wrong behavior, wrong habits, can make a supernatural, talented child, gifted from God, be a loser in life, have nothing. Understand? It's
Yeah.
very important the way the parent is. The parent is, it's a big, big key in that triangle for the child to be successful, because if the family has the right behavior, the family has the right mentality, the child is going to be successful. The coach can be the best coach in the world. If the family doesn't work correctly, understand, the child is not going to succeed. All the talent that the child has is gone. It's equals zero. You take a child that has, I told you, mediocre talent, like 50% talent, but the rest of them is mentality from the parents, and the parents give them the right guidance, and the parents give it 100%, like Ashley said before, like bringing them to practice, teaching them to have good time management and good behavior with like doing their homeworks, doing their bed, being honest, being a hard worker, you know, that child is going to be successful. And you have the other child that's talented, but the family has different path,
Priorities.
priorities and path. I mean, more toxic path. The child is not going to be successful if it's not break it from the family. Understand?
Well, I
Right.
think this is a good time to say this is why we are going to be starting a parent workshop. It's going to be our first of many to come, but it's all about having the best competition season possible and how you can help your athlete do that by the way that you parent them. And this is coming from a place of people who were former athletes themselves, who knows what it feels like to have their parent really be there for them. Of course, we grew up in two different societies, but we know what worked well for us and what didn't work well for us. And then, of course, having the opposite end of that as coaches and witnessing what we, see from parents and how the athletes respond and what's beneficial to them. So it's not telling parents how to actually parent their children. It's letting you know what it's going to be like to take them to competition, all of the emotions that they're going to be experiencing, and what to be ready for as a parent, and how you really can illuminate the champion within them and help provide them a positive experience. So, if you haven't seen it yet, if you don't yet follow us on social media, you can visit us on Instagram at Illuminating Champions, or you can visit our website. It's illuminatingchampions.com, and you can sign up for this 4-week workshop. It's going to begin on October 29th, and we're going to have it weekly on Sunday evenings. It's going to be later in the evening, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are hoping that everybody's settled down at this point and they can really tune in and focus in. And it's going to be interactive. You're going to be able to ask us questions. We're going to have different modules every week, from what it's like to go to competition, what the structure of a competition is and how it's working, understanding how the sport is scored, and understanding your child's performance, how to prepare them for competition. And then we are going to have some special guests with us, including a company called Full Out Recruit, and it's a college recruiting company. So they're going to be talking with parents about getting ready to apply for colleges and setting your athlete up for having this opportunity to do gymnastics in a college. And parents are going to be surprised that this starts at a very, very young age in gymnastics. So you're going to get to hear from them. And then we're also going to be having certain raffles and giveaways. You guys can see behind us, we have a product called Canteen. This is from a company called Redcon. Mihal and myself actually use this in our own training. And this particular product is electrolyte. So it's great for hydration and it's safe for children. You can actually put it in their water when they go to practice to help them hydrate. And it's got vitamins in there, vitamin C, vitamin B12 complex. It's very healthy and natural. So we're going to be raffling these off during our workshop, and they were kindly sponsored by Redcon for us to raffle off. So we want to say a big thank you to Redcon for helping us illuminate the champion within all the athletes that we get to work with. Um, and leaving off today, I want to leave everybody with some tips for creating luminous moments. Our first one always is for coaches, and that is going to be to realize the way that you approach your athletes, and that directly impacts their performance and their life. And it also persuades the way that they think about themselves. And if you want them to have a positive self image, if you want them to be able to give 100% of themselves because they feel good about themselves when they come into practice, and you want them to have the tools to perform their best, you need to give 100% of yourself as a coach. And that means going through challenging moments and going through the challenge of trying to reach each athlete on a deeper level, and working with all athletes, even the ones, and especially the ones that present the largest challenges to you. Do you have anything you want to add to that? If not, it's okay.
No, I tell coaches, like, give it all for your athletes. Do not sit on the sideline and watch them struggle,
Mm-hmm.
And it is a mentality that has to change, especially in gymnastics, where the coaches are just doing a business. They get a paycheck, and if the child can do it, they can do it. Like if a girl needs a floor routine, you make her a floor routine. Don't give her a floor routine that someone else has. Make them feel special. Make your athletes feel special. If she needs a beam routine, make her a beam routine. Don't give her a beam routine that someone else already did it.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? Because you see that's a problem, especially in America. You have levels in gymnastics where you have a optional routine on floor, for example. Then each girl in that team should have a different routine based on their physical abilities, based on their mentality, right? And the gym is just choosing, I don't know, like an old routine from one girl. The girl is teaching the whole team, 20 girls, the same routine. Then there's nothing special about it. You have to make the athlete feel special, especially in those programs that allow them to.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are many situations like this where, like I just saw a story like that a while ago. I'm going to let Ashley say this story, actually, because she's going to say it correct in English. I'm going to
Now
end
you
with
see
this.
certain forums online where coaches will be asking for advice, and this was a situation where a coach was overwhelmed with the amount of
But has the good
children that they
intention.
had to coach, and they were of different levels, and they had the great intention of wanting to reach all of them, and being afraid that they weren't going to be able to because they were coaching really by themselves and had many different levels to reach. And they were asking if anybody else is in the same situation, and if they were feeling overwhelmed, and what to do. And they have to make floor routines, and they have this level of kids, and they just don't know what to do for them. And every single answer back to them was, oh, just make an older kid teach them the routines, or oh, this level, just give them all the same routine. It's fine. It's way too much work to make them different routines. And I'm reading it and I'm like, why is no one encouraging this coach and celebrating the fact that they had the right idea, that they want to reach every single student, and just helping them organize their thoughts and stay calm, and give them tips on how to approach what they're doing so that they can do that, rather than just taking the easy way out and giving everybody one routine, or making an older kid teach the routine. And then I'm like, how do you expect your athlete to give 100% of themselves when you're going to give 50% of yourself,
Not
just
even
because
50. You're going to give
it's
nothing in that situation.
easier to do that? And when the athlete realizes it is when they get to competition. And this is when you don't want them to realize that. You want them to feel the most special at competition. You want them to feel celebratory of all their hard work. And when they got to competition, if they go there and they see like you didn't give 100% of yourself because their team has everybody having the same routine, and another team, everybody has a different routine, they're going to question it. Like, why don't we get to
That
do that?
happened.
And it happens.
I
Or
was
if
at the, I was at the competition. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was at the competition, and my girls were switching events, and girls from other team like come close to them, and they ask them like, "Why you guys have a different routine, each of you?" And they're like, "What?" My girls didn't even understand. They're like, "Because we do the same routine."
Whereas my girls ask the opposite question of why does that team all have the same
you know,
routine? They're not aware of
but
that
my
because
guys didn't know
yeah,
what to answer. Like they was
yeah,
like, I don't know.
we
Uh,
do.
we
Yeah.
do. I don't know. My coaches do that. Like I don't know.
It's the same thing with we go back to look good, feel good. And it's like sometimes you see teams that
Right.
they really don't put any effort into, making the girls feel special and fancy by what they're wearing to competition. It's a sloppy appearance, or they just go buy whatever jacket, or the team doesn't even all have the same one, and
Mhm.
then they don't
You
feel
have to make
special,
it
and
special.
you need them to feel special when they go to competition because they are special. So that you don't want them to realize in that moment where they should be feeling the most special that they weren't special enough to you, and that's exactly how they feel when that happens. So put the extra effort in as a coach.
Mhm.
Spend the extra time, be organized, make a plan, and realize what everybody needs, and be prepared to give everybody what they need, whatever that is costing of your self effort to do. Um, and then our second tip I want to move on to is for parents, and that is to make your athlete know that their sport has importance to you by being involved, by holding them to high expectations of great behavior and work ethic, and helping, like we said before, helping them get ready, helping them understand what it is their coach is asking of them by having first good communication with their coach, cheering them on, especially when they're struggling, um, you know, lifting them up if they had a bad competition that day, and letting them know that you're proud of their efforts, and teaching them all of those things, helping them understand the concept of good sportsmanship and appreciating the effort of others. Those are all things that you can do as a parent to really illuminate the champion within your child and make them feel like you're 100% there for them. They never want to feel like you don't care about what they're doing, because especially gymnastics, it's a sport that requires you to give all of yourself, and it's very emotional and it's very challenging physically besides mentally. um, so you want to feel like your parent has respect of all you're giving of yourself, and that's how you show your athlete that. That's what I can say as an athlete myself, and how I felt between my parents. If I differentiate my mother being like that versus my father not always being involved or being harsh on performance in a negative way. Your child
One
really
second,
takes
because you
to
see, like the
heart the
parents
way you
sometimes they
approach
make the
them.
mistake that they think they give it 100% when they pressure the child just with the results.
Hmm.
Understand? Did you win a gold medal or didn't? Why did you know? Like you can win a gold medal. Come on, you can be a champion. No, it's like Ashley said, it's the behavior that they have to keep at a higher standard. It's how the child behave, how respectful they are during training, how dedicated they are to it. Because at one point, all that positive behavior that they have is gonna lead them to the successful in competition. But if you pressure them just with a success, that's the end
Result.
result, right? They never gonna get there because they're not gonna do the parts that are most important.
Right. They're not taking the steps to
Yes.
reach it. And then lastly, but
One
importantly,
second, and you
go
see
ahead.
again, it's the coach job to let the parents know. The
Yes.
parents don't know that they are competitive. I told you in the past episode. I know parents in America are like, I want my daughter to do or my son to do their best. Then they go to a competition and they look at the one with the big trophies, like, oh, son, why did you didn't win that? Or daughter, you know, they are competitive, and it's the coach job to explain them the competitive mind and how a competitive mind works and what the competitive skill set is and how to build it.
Right.
And for the kids,
Okay, sorry. And for the, I was making sure you were done. And for the athletes, do your sport with pride.
yeah.
You know, take pride in that you are uniquely you, that you're doing something challenging, and that you're taking on your dream, and walk into your sport ready to leave feeling like you did all you could to improve that day. And then you're always going to be proud of yourself, even if that day happened to be a day in which you struggled. So that's our tip for athletes on giving 100%. And we want to say thank you to everyone for listening and for following along with us. Please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube so you can watch us every week and never miss an episode. And we want to say thank you so much to Mark for helping us with this episode and all of our previous episodes as well.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you for listening to Illuminating Champions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our next episode.